Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? Oh my God, it's so good that you all are here today with me. Thank you so much for joining me on the Corner Cafe. I am your girl, Angela West Brown, educational life coach and consultant, and today we have a great topic. Oh my God. I am so happy that you are here this morning because I have some thoughts that I would like to share with you on the matter of sexual violence in the special needs community. It's the unspoken truth that I want to shed light on for you this morning. And so I wanted to kind of pull back a little bit and let you all know that I am a author. My book is called The Lost and Found, Educating Parents of Intellectually Disabled High School Students on How to Navigate Through College, Adulthood, and Beyond. And one of my chapters, which is also called The Unspoken Truth About Sexual Violence, covers just the hidden dangers in the community that we are not really aware of. It's like the pink elephant in the room, if you will. And so this morning, I wanted to just get your thoughts on it. If you're tuning in live, go ahead and put your comments down below. Or if you want to inbox me or come onto my social media page and give your thoughts on the matter as we progress along with the show this morning. I would like to first read a snippet of my book of Lost and Found so you can actually get an understanding of why I wanted to talk about this this morning. And so let's begin. Chapter 9, The Unspoken Truth About Sexual Violence. Hidden dangers in the forest. Being lost in the woods not only is scary because you are alone, but the hidden dangers of bears and snakes are real threats. Just like there are threats to your safety and well-being in the wilderness, the same applies to the cold, dark, scary streets of America. Above all, you just might lose your life while lost on the wrong street at the wrong time. She was home from the hospital, and I couldn't do much more than cry and stare at the cut on her neck. The sight of her condition left me traumatized and angry, but I had to be strong for my sister. I couldn't let her see me cry. She was found in an abandoned building off Davis Street, beaten, raped, and left for dead. After I gathered my thoughts, I held her tight and close. The anger surged through my body. Why couldn't you just stay home with Grandma safe and warm, protected? No, you wanted to be in these streets. I was angry. I was heated. Who would do such a thing to my sister? She was sweet, spunky, and lovable. So, as you all know, my sister has an intellectual disability. And when it comes to individuals that have any kind of disability, whether it's an intellectual disability or a developmental disability, they are more prone to be taken advantage of on a day-to-day basis. And so a lot of times, it's hard to express to the community that this is something that we have to address as well. I know there has been a lot of things going on in the news lately in regards to sexual violence, the Me Too movement, the situation that happened here in Atlanta. And that's what made me want to really focus on sexual violence in the special needs community and how a lot of our disabled youth, our intellectually disabled youth and children are at risk of being taken advantage of sexually, and just being lured into doing things that if they were able to comprehend what was happening, they would be able to reach out for help, be able to make the authorities aware, be able to notify their parents, and they're not able to express that they are in danger or that they feel that they are being violated They don't even know that it's something happening to them a lot of times. They just know they feel uncomfortable around this person, or they fear being around certain environments and situations with a certain individual. And a lot of times parents are not picking up on the signals. A lot of times the teachers and different people surrounding the child may not pick up on those differences in that child's personality. A lot of times they may say, okay, well, the child may be exhibiting symptoms of ADHD all of a sudden, and it's really connected to a sexual trauma. And so today I had the privilege to read over some more statistics on this issue that I would like to share with you as well. So, in accordance to the Bureau of Justice Statistics began a series of reports on crime against people with disabilities in 2008. The latest BJS report, published in 2014, titled Crime Against People with Disabilities, estimated 1.3 million violent crimes occurred against people with disabilities in 2012, a rate nearly 3 times higher than for people without disabilities. In addition, in 2012 marked rapes or sexual assaults of people with disabilities at nearly 4 times the rate of people without. The rate of violent victimization for youth ages 12 to 15 was nearly 3 times higher for people with disabilities. More than half of violent crimes against people with disabilities were against people with more than one type of disability, and about 1 in 5 thought their disability was the reason they were targeted. Individuals with cognitive disabilities had a rate of non-fatal violent crime victimization higher than the rates for people with all other kinds of disabilities. Okay, that number is extremely high. It's higher than I would have anticipated, but at the same time I understood why. A lot of times our children that have special needs are not able to express what's happening to them. A lot of times they may not be able to talk. They may not be able to really express that they're uncomfortable at times. And sometimes they may be able to, but if it's someone that they're close to, let me be very clear. If it's someone they're close to or that they see every day when they're going out to their adult activities or different things going on, that they are interacting with people on a day-to-day basis, and a lot of times they are in a position where they need help a lot of times to do those day-to-day activities, they may feel uncomfortable saying to their parents or to a loved one, hey, someone made me feel uncomfortable. They may just shy away from that situation. They may act out. It could be a number of things that they exhibit in their disposition to let you know that something is off. Now, a lot of the times it could be that there's a lack of resources and support systems surrounding the child, because more than most, if a child has had sexual education courses, then they know about good touch, bad touch. But some parents feel like, okay, if I don't expose my child to this, then I won't have anything to worry about. But at the same time, you're leaving them vulnerable to be taken advantage of because they're not aware of what a good touch and a bad touch is. Another way that predators tend to prey on vulnerable people, such as intellectually disabled teens or children, is that they believe that authorities won't accept their word. Their word won't hold up in court. They won't be able. They will be deemed incompetent to even stand, during a trial and speak for themselves. Let me see. I want to make sure I have everything here that I want to express. And so once a child has been victimized, or has been, sexually assaulted, the police pretty much just doesn't really assess the child's, mental state, the adult's mental state, and proceed from there. A lot of our authority figures and first responders, such as police officers and even individuals in the legal system, such as the lawyers, they are not aware of how to assist in situations like this. And I'm not faulting anyone for not knowing, but at the same time, these perpetrators get away because, number one, the legal system does not call into play resources that are needed to accommodate the individual to be able to speak or express themselves. I want to make sure that I am not missing anything. So some of those accommodations could be a satellite testimony from a child or a victim, where they don't have to be in the courtroom with the alleged perpetrator. They could give their testimony from a different location and it still be accepted in court. You have where the child can receive a interview prior to the police giving the statement to the courts. They could go ahead and do the ask for the school evaluations, make sure that the initial report has that the child's disabilities listed. They can modify the approach to the interview by simplifying the language for the children with verbal comprehension disabilities. They can provide writing materials for children who have a difficult time speaking. They can take frequent breaks. There are so many accommodations that can be had during the forensic interview in a case where a child has been violated. So it would help the prosecutors and the judges be able to say, okay, we can accept the testimony of this child with these particular modifications in place. So it increases the chances of a child with intellectual disabilities or special needs speaking out when they've been assaulted or violated, because they know they have the support behind them. They know that their testimony will stand up in court and that they will get some type of justice. So a lot of times, okay, so let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about the reasons why a lot of our children with special needs or intellectual disabilities do not speak up or do not speak out. Okay? And so it could be fear of more abuse, fear of not being believed, fear of being blamed or punished. They can have a fear of losing their services. They can have a fear of losing their home, their job, family, friends, because a lot of our adults of special needs workers have jobs. They have friends and family. They're ingrained in the community. They could have fear of telling on someone who has power over them. Like I stated, it could be someone they see every day, that they've become familiar with, that they have been violated by. And then also they have been taught to go along with what others tell them to do, and they just are compliant. And so those are a recipe for disaster when it comes to our special needs community. And our teens and children and young adults with intellectual disabilities. It makes them very vulnerable for repeated offenders to continuously violate them if we don't set up some type of barriers and information for them to be aware, for the parent to be aware of, this is what I can do, this is how I can do it. And this pretty much is a way to let people know that the disability and the disabled community is a part of the Me Too movement. Any disability that makes you more vulnerable, any intellectual disability that makes you more vulnerable, regardless of age, needs to be talked about, and we need to speak up on that. And if you have been affected or know someone who has been affected by sexual violence, speak up, speak out. You are a part of the Me Too movement as well. You deserve to have your voice heard, no matter what the disability is, no matter what. And so I wanted to share with you something that is happening in a new way when it comes to the criminal justice system and how we approach people that have been victimized that have a disability. Okay, so we are going to talk about the Bennington approach. And so what they do is they have actually created a program in Vermont, Bennington, Vermont, where the investigator will identify the disability of the young client by receiving training on protecting children with disabilities against sexual assault. So they're creating curriculum, they're creating trainings to train the lawyers, the judges, to train the first responders, the police, to know how to go about making sure that all the information is captured at the time of the event, so that that child will have the opportunity to get their voice heard and have the opportunity to get justice from whatever is happening, so it could be not only just sexual violence, it could have been physical violence, it could have been just mistreatment, any of these type of issues that come about where the child or the young adult is more vulnerable because of their mental or their intellectual disability. They are now pretty much leveling the playing field when it comes to having their due justice in court. And so I wanted to give you all a few moments to let this marinate. We're gonna go to a quick break, and I'll be back. Okay? All right, I am back. We're back. Okay. So, I wanted to just recap on what we talked about so far. We're actually talked about the cycle of victimization of people with disabilities, okay? So, first off, the victimization occurs. Secondly, not recognized as abuse, so it's not reported or disclosed. This is how the cycle starts now. They're not understood, believed, or taken seriously. The report is not investigated. There's no therapy or inappropriate therapy is given. There's no trial, no convictions. Offenders are able to re-offend, and then it happens again. It continuously happens. It goes on and on and on. Okay, and so what I would like to do is just to break that by actually giving some trainings on what needs to be done to prevent the sexual violence from happening, which is exposing your child to some sexual some sex education classes, so they'll know how to be sexually healthy is what I'm trying to say, to have a healthy relationships with their body, with how they're supposed to conduct themselves, how other people are supposed to conduct themselves with them and around them, what's a inappropriate touch, what's a okay touch, are they even supposed to be touching them at all? I mean, it's not something that we have to just sweep under the rug, like, oh, no one will mess with them, they'll be fine. That's not it. We have to prepare our children for anything, no matter what. It's just amazing how everything could be okay one day, the next day it could just be complete chaos. And so I wanted to also talk about how to talk to victims with disabilities, okay? And so a lot of times, you may have to you may have had to encounter someone that has gone through a traumatic experience. For some of my social workers or healthcare workers, you may have experienced seeing someone that has been violated, and they're in a very, very vulnerable place. And it's a little bit more heightened when they have an intellectual disability or a developmental disability. There's a extra layer of vulnerability and care that needs to be given to these individuals. So the first thing is, in order to make sure the victim will feel safe and will actually tell you what happened, and this is if you're in a predicament where you actually have to do the investigative interview, you want to meet them in a comfortable location and limit the distractions. When possible, just ask the person what is the best place to meet with the person without the presence of others who may influence their ability to speak freely, if that is able to, if that can happen, or if you can do that, because a lot of times individuals with disabilities need someone with them to help support them, to be able to help them function throughout the day. Allow plenty of time for the interview. Use plain language that is easy to understand. Ask the person to share what they are able to about the situation. Let the person tell their account of what happened without interruption. Listen actively. Okay? Focus on what the person saw, heard, felt, smelled, and tasted. This will provide a complete understanding of the person's experience. Ask open-ended questions such as, can you tell me more about? Okay, and then do not ask why questions, or the person may think you are blaming them for what happened. Avoid rapid firing of questions. And before leaving, thank them for meeting with you and give them your name, okay, and contact information. That's if you are an investigative responder that has to go out and speak to the individual that has been victimized. And so a lot of times, like I was stating before, if you have to speak to them in a place where it's without anyone else, where they can speak freely, what about if they're nonverbal or they cannot talk? And so keep in mind, everyone can communicate regardless of how they can communicate. And so that would mean that in this situation, you would have to figure out all your options, explore all your options, to know how you can best communicate with the person. Okay, and so make sure if they are in a position where they can speak, that they're with someone they trust that won't try to sway their they're telling them I'm sorry, make sure someone that will not be able to sway how they feel about the situation or make them change their mind about what happened, or influence them in any kind of way to say something that's not true. And also just make sure to be supporting and loving. So the only thing is that the victim is the only one that can move forward with an informed choice about core advocacy services and healing. So we're just there to support them. But this is a silent epidemic, okay, for those in a disabled community. And there's a large gap between the criminal justice system and the disability community when it comes to reporting acts of violence like this. And so I really, really wish I could hear your thoughts on it and get some insight about how you feel about it. You can reach out to me. I'll give you that information after the show, and we could continue we could continue the discussion at Author's Corner Q&A. That's on every third Thursday of the month, and I would love to see you all there. Okay, we're gonna take one more quick break, and I'll be back shortly. We're back. We're back. Oh my Lord. Oh my God. I just want to be honest with you all. This is a very, very intense topic for me. I did not think it would be this heavy for me to really just share this information and share my experience with my sister with you all. I just appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to share this with you all and to give you some of the information and tips that I've learned along the way, and just bear with me. You know, I wanted to bring you something that was relevant, especially with everything that's been happening, and I wanted to make sure you understood that the special needs community needs to hear about this as well. And it's a unspoken truth that a lot of our young adults and children with special needs, intellectual disabilities, are being sexually abused, and it's being swept under the rug. And I couldn't just stand by and not do something. So I volunteered to be a part of a lot of different outreach programs that are targeted towards just getting the information out there, creating more awareness around the issue, and hopefully, one parent at a time will do something different, not just shield your child from, sexual education class, but really make sure they understand what's going on, and not just say, okay, well, no one will bother them. They're okay. They're protected, no, there are some mean and cruel people out here that do not care. And we've seen on the news time and time again of young adults and teens being taken advantage of that have disabilities, whether they're ID or DD, that is if it's intellectual disabilities or developmental disabilities. And people have been cruel, and even down to just my own experience with my sister. I just feel like it's a lot. It's truly a lot. And so a lot of my information today I've shared with you. I've actually done some research on the matter using the National Center on Criminal Justice and Disability. That's the NCCJD. And it was an article on violence, abuse, and bullying affecting people with intellectual developmental disabilities. And this is a call to action for the criminal justice community. And so I just wanted to close our show with a insert from my book. This is chapter 9, The Unspoken Truth About Sexual Violence. Okay. People living with intellectual disabilities are taught to trust and not question. They must be taught how to handle social situations when it comes to their bodies, their choices, and their voices, no matter who is involved. Intellectually disabled people are the unspoken victims of cruel sexual violence. They are our most vulnerable population. The dynamics of this unsettling issue are so vast and wide, yet touching, because sometimes the perpetrator is another intellectually disabled person. I would encourage sexual awareness and safety measures to be taught to these individuals. It is important to move away from identifying everyone who crosses their path as safe and trustworthy individuals. It is best to teach them self-awareness and social cues to handle danger when necessary and how to protect themselves. All right. That's it. Okay. So once again, my name is Angela West Brown, educational life coach and consultant. You can find me on IG on every third Thursday for Author's Corner, and that's at 9. That's on IG Live. And then you can find me on my website. That's angelawestbrown.com. You can also follow me on Facebook at ARW Brown ECCS1, and also on Twitter at ARW Brown Educate 1. All right, you all have a great weekend. I know the Super Bowl is here in Atlanta. It's about to be just pandemonium, okay? All right, y'all have a great one. And we will see you all next week.